All right, can you hear me now? Hopefully you can hear me now. Anyway, I'm Ron Juckett, and it's time once again for the DoDCast postgame show for this 16th day of September 2017. The Los Angeles Dodgers have taken the first two games of the series by a score today of 3-2. The Nats made it interesting. They had a chance to win this in the eighth, and Yasiel Puig with an amazing diving catch to rob Daniel Murphy ended the rally, and then Kenley Jansen came on in the ninth inning and got the side out in 7 pitches. Didn't strike out anybody, but he did get the side out on 7 pitches, and the Dodgers take the second game of the series 3-2. A lot better than last night's performance, where they lost. They were shut out is what happened. And you never want that. Let's go through some totals, shall we? The Dodgers go to 96-52 on the year. 3 runs on 7 hits and an error for them. The error on Seager at short on what really should have been a base hit for Adam Lynn. I don't understand why he didn't get credit for that as a hit. It would be his 15th pitch hit of the year. Maybe that's why I'm kind of salty about it. The Nationals fall to 89-59. 2 runs on 4 hits and no errors. They had a run in the 4th, and as I said, a run in the 8th and a chance to do a lot more damage in the 8th without Puig stealing the show. So Rich Hill gets the win, 10-8. Bad strike zone today by the umpire. Hill, I believe it's 6 strikeouts looking today. A.J. Cole falls to 2-5. Couldn't make it out of the 6th. Really shouldn't have even started the 6th inning. 90 pitches after 5 innings. That's going to be, I think, the thing they need to, if he's going to remain a starter, that's what they have to work on with him, is making sure he can actually get you through 6 innings. With Kenley Jansen picking up the save in the 9th, his 38th of the year. Today, the Nats were 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position, a little bit better. Rendon had both the extra base hits. He had the home run in the 4th off a Hill. He almost had a home run his first time up, too. And that was the only extra base hit. He had a single. So he picks up his 93rd RBI of the year, and Trey Turner gets his 41st. So they stranded 4. Pitching lines, A.J. Cole, 5 innings officially. He did pitch to 2 batters in the 6th. 7 hits, 3 runs, all earned. He walked 2 and struck out 5, gave up the home run. The ERA at 4.43 isn't horrible. The 92 pitches for 57 strikes sounds good on the surface, but he just throws too many pitches. He really needs to be getting through. With that kind of pitch count, he really needs to be pitching into the 6th inning. Ali Perez, let's give credit to the bullpen. I mean, Seth, I don't think is here because I'm sure he's off doing actually something real world today. The Nats bullpen has thrown 10 2/3 innings in this series, and they haven't given up a run. In fact, today, they only gave up 1 base runner. Actually, that's not right. There was a hit by pitch, too. They struck, as a whole, they struck out 5 and didn't allow a hit over 4 innings. So Ali Perez strikes out 2 in his inning. Matt Gray struck out 2 in the 7th in his inning. Matt Albers walked a batter in the 8th, got worked around it. And Ryan Madsen with a clean 9th with a strikeout. Nats pitcher struck out 10 today. Perez threw 9 pitches, and all of them strikes. He didn't throw a ball. Matt Grace, 12 pitches for 8 strikes. Matt Albers, 15 for 10. And Madsen, 7 pitches, and 5 of them strikes. It took 2 hours and 46 minutes to play. We actually started this before 4 o'clock in front of a sellout, 39,387. So, should you be concerned? And I guess the short answer is kind of. They held their own today. They didn't look terrible today. They could have gotten some better pitching from A.J. Cole, but he wasn't god-awful. It wasn't like Edwin Jackson last night. They bounced back at the end. Daniel Murphy was robbed of an extra base hit, even though he didn't look really that good today. And I'm not sure what Jason's Worth health is not great, as far as I can tell. His timing isn't very good. And yes, they do miss Bryce Harper. Yeah, Judo basically says goes through Adam Lind as a franchise season pinch hit leader. I think they will change that. How could you give Defoe a hit before that on a ball that bounded off a Seager's glove that he misplayed, and then when he clearly misses the ball, that's where the error is? I'd rather them switch it. I think Defoe probably would have beat it out anyway. I don't see how the Lind play is an error. Judo says this wasn't a bad of an outing, all things considered. No, there's a lot of panic. I think the offense hasn't looked great at times this week. In the games I've had, they haven't been terrible. But you do kind of have to wonder about the health of certain older players. I think Jason Worth isn't right. I don't think Daniel Murphy's right, but Judo is right. If Puig doesn't catch that ball, the game is over. 2-run score. You probably have Dadson trying to go out there and close the door anyway. He was up. And you go with Strasburg tomorrow night with a chance to win the series and maybe calm some nerves down. The good news is out of this, that besides the fact they didn't look terrible today, is that after tomorrow night's game, it's tomato cans the rest of the way. They'll have a couple weeks to rest some players, to get people some at-bats that need the at-bats to get ready for the playoffs. This is the downside for clinching the division so early, is because it really becomes hard to play out the string. Do you chase after the Dodgers? Well, we're not going to tell you that we are. We're not going to tell you that we're not. And I think part of that is frustrating because as a fan, I understand you want that home field. But if you look at realistically, you're in with 3 weeks left. No one else gets hurt. That's a bonus. You get Harper back before the playoffs begin. That's a real bonus. And you take your chances, where you can. This was a winnable game today, and Puig did those little things that the Dodgers have done all year as far as winning games is concerned. And Ricky makes a good point in the chat. The team hyped up this series, so there's a lot of contradictions involved. This was the 6th earliest division clinch in Major League history. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the fact that the rest of the division isn't very good. And it's hard to figure out what they want to do. If they had won last night, I really think they would have kind of pressed today. But when you're out there throwing in A.J. Cole in a game that you kind of, if you're going to win the best record in the league, that kind of tells me right there that they weren't really going for it. And Cole, for the most part, pitched well. A couple pitches got away from him. Bellinger just absolutely smashed his home run. And, Justin Turner is going to cause nightmares again this fall for some other team's fan base. The Dodgers got to love the fact that he's healthy. But beyond that, there isn't a right answer for that. Ricky's right. There are a lot of contradictions involved, and it's confusing. And if I've learned one thing in my year of actually, full season of covering a single team as opposed to general baseball, is don't make fans think. I'm not saying that to be rude, but the team really should have, I can see the point being, let's make it clear. Are we playing for home field all the way through? Or are we happy and content just to have the spot wrapped up and let's just play out the string and see what happens from there? And I think if you openly admit that, nah, we're good as the 2, I think you'd upset some fans. And I think if you go through and say, no, we want to pass the Dodgers, and then you're throwing out A.J. Cole when you have Gio Gonzalez ready to go, then maybe, I understand the point. They did sell out today, which is a good thing. One of the things that kind of concerned me in the midweek series against the Braves was how small those crowds were. Yes, the games really meant nothing, and you get angry and all that, but you still need to have families in the seats. Now, I understand that baseball tickets are expensive and the Metro closes down at a certain time, and which is a whole nother kettle of fish. And trust me, we'll get into that as we get closer to the playoffs about what the Metro is going to do, because you need to have people there. There's a reason why you have home field advantage. It's because of you guys and your support for the team. So again, you know, this is kind of a cross between, yes, it matters, but this wasn't a West Palm Beach lineup, but still, it's kind of gets treated that way. Judo says, I'm sure the marketing was playing out weeks ago, to be fair, and he's right. And people were looking forward to this one for months. May as well cash in playing devil's advocate. One of the most frustrating things for me, and Ricky and I have talked about this off the air a lot. By the way, Ricky's with me tomorrow night after the ESPN game. I'll be with you for the game, and Ricky and I will be with you for the postgame show to wrap up the weekend front series with the Dodgers. Is that sometimes this team is too closed-mouthed when it comes to things. We certainly know they are with injuries. And because they're a relatively new team on the grand scheme of things, I think sometimes you really just got to point things out. I really wish the Lerner family would kind of lean on the city a little bit to make sure that for some of these night games, especially tomorrow night, that the Metro stays open for the Nats. Just as if the Redskins are playing at night, that it should stay open to make sure that the Redskin fans get home. Or for the playoff games involving later times with the Caps and the Wizards. You know, it's about serving the people who fill the coffers of the city. And if you don't want a playoff night that you're going to have to stay open until at least, last runs start at midnight instead of 11 o'clock, I think you got to do that. And I really wish the sports powers would press that. It makes it look like that the team is on their side. And Ricky says, of course, Judo, but this was during the Brave series that people talked about the home field. It really is confusing, and it's a case again of, look, the division wasn't very good. They still have a commanding lead on a division that's already over, and it makes it hard. They were talking about this during the game. Dusty Baker, I guess, was talking about back in the late 70s, one of those, it must have been 77, one of those years that the Dodgers had wrapped up the division early, and they let their players start focusing on individual accomplishments. For Davey Lopes, who's the first base coach, he had 30. He was hunting for 30 home runs. Dusty Baker, I think, was going to try in 100 runs. It gave the players something to focus on. You know, one of those things. It's just uncharted territory for everybody. But ideally, it's tomato cans the last 2 weeks of the season. I know it sounds like I'm too Pollyanna here, but I really wouldn't worry about anything this week. I want to see players start to get better. I want to see some timing start to get better from certain things, but I also don't want to see injuries. I think I would be concerned about what Murphy does over the next week or so, and I really want to see Pedro Severino force his way onto the playoff roster. Key thing for me is that. But there's bullpen positions to be squared away, and as I said, 10 2/3 innings of scoreless ball against the Dodgers. That's impressive. Ricky says also probably played LA at the wrong time since their breaks are starting to even out again. Well, you know the Dodgers weren't going to completely collapse. And as we saw with the quick play, you make your own breaks. But to be fair to the Nationals, the two of the three starters are not going to start in any postseason series. Edwin Jackson and A.J. Cole are not starting in any playoff series. Steven Strasburg, who's pitching with a major chip on his shoulder, goes tomorrow night. The Dodgers kind of get to him early. I can see it. But really, patience is the key. Ricky asks a good question. You have one bullpen spot for the postseason, for the preseason. You have lots of bullpen spots for the preseason run. But for the postseason, who do you go with? Who you got? Edwin Jackson, A.J. Cole, or Matt Grace? I'm going to rank them in order of how I've seen the red top three. I'm going to go with Grace for the 1. I would take Cole second because I do think in a shorter situation, I think Cole can be effective. If you say, look, just give us 6 outs or 30 pitchers or what have you, I think he can do that. I think Edwin Jackson's the tank on him is starting to hit E. And so if I had my druthers in it, I think Grace could probably get you multiple innings. I don't like what pressure does to A.J. Cole. And, Jackson, I think, maybe playing for his roster spot. I think he gets a couple more starts, obviously, and it makes a big difference in what he does. But if he goes out there next week against, I think, the Braves, right? No, it would be the Mets. Braves or Mets. And coughs up another hairball, then I really think that he will not make the postseason roster. But Judo says, I think Grace out of those 3. Mr. Keeler, what is your answer to that? Hey, Seth, how are you? What's your answer to that, Ricky? Judo says all 3 over Sean Kelly. I don't think that Kelly makes a playoff roster. The only thing with Grace is that the pen would be very left-handed. That is true. But if you're in a situation where you need someone to get you 6 outs, I'm not sure handed really matters at that point. When you're not going to be using Grace in a situation. Ricky is the tease. You're a tease, Ricky. I would tell you. But that's my article for tomorrow, so you'll have to read it and find out. Hey. Well played, Mr. Keeler. Well played. All right, so that's it. Let's go through the scoreboard really quickly. Seth says, in small, tiny letters in 2-point print, Kelly is not going to be on the postseason roster. His slider got in the 70s. Ricky had last night's game. Ricky, do you think – I think you can answer this about Kelly without giving away what you want to write about. Do you really just think that he's done as a player, as a pitcher, that the tank – you can only hit the tank – the tank can only get to E so many times there. That's what I'm trying to say. Before you're done. And I get that sense from Kelly is that he's pretty much done. Oh, Judo, you will read it just because of that tease, because you like us. Kelly isn't under consideration for me, Ricky says, needs a reset. Do you think, though, Ricky, that his problems are just from this year, or are they at the point where he's really at the end of the road for his career? Think about that for a sec. But I tell you that the other final this is the only game that's final. Houston leads Seattle 7-5. That was the other game on Fox today. We'll just go through the 4 o'clock games that started. Yankees and Orioles. Just the start of things in the Bronx. Cubs and Cardinals are scoreless in the top of the first 2 out. The Cleveland Indians, give them some props. 22 straight wins. Kansas City beat them last night. No score in the first. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are scoreless. They are just underway at Great American Park. Games of interest tonight. Philadelphia, well, there's hardly anything really of interest anymore. Philadelphia and Oakland tonight at 7:05. Milwaukee and Miami at 7:10. Mets and Braves at 7:10. Arizona at San Francisco at 9:05. San Diego and Colorado at 8:10. Now, you see I'm wearing the glasses. I've had glasses since I was 4 years old, so this is not new. But I kind of have the in-between middle-age vision. And so when I watch the new TV up there, everything looks wonderful. But when I'm trying to read this stuff, can't come back far enough to make it all look good. Ricky says, combo of both. I'm talking about Kelly. Stuff isn't as good as last year, and I don't think he has any confidence. Well, the Judo asks if they'll DFA him. He said, no, that's a lot of money. I think he gets traded, to be honest. Reset meeting head into next year. All right. Okay. Ricky requested something, and so I'll do it. Santa Maria! I thought he was going to do that with the Rendon kaboom, but he didn't do it. But he did kind of pop it up a couple notches there Rick, when Puig made the great stab to kill their alley. And in the college football update, Duke is 3-0. They beat Baylor 34-20. I don't care. Good for you, Seth. Glad your team won. All right, so that's what we have. Today I interviewed, or yesterday I interviewed Buster Olney, but the audio didn't record. So I want to personally thank ESPN for allowing us to, or me to talk with Buster Olney, Eduardo Perez, and Tim Kirkchin for their Sunday night previews all year, 4 times. We'll figure out a way that's more consistent so I can actually do interviews for next year, because it's really important. I'm glad to do it. And you learn so much from talking to Buster. You can go read it on the site. He is such a good storyteller. Yeah, Judo says, fact, Excursion did have a pretty good call in the Puig catch in the 8th. Scared my cat. My wife is home, so the cat has been banished from the office. Let's see, what else did we do today? Ricky, what was your piece today? I'm so observant on what you do. Oh, no, talking about the catcher of the future, whether it be Severino or Roddy Reed. And tomorrow we'll have our player of the week, and Ricky teased his piece, so I guess this means that I don't have to write tomorrow, which means I must double at some point next week. So, tomorrow night, 8:05, of course, for Sunday Night Baseball, and Mr. Keeler and myself will be with you after the game, hopefully sometime before 11:30 for, right, I think, right, Reed versus Severino is the catcher for the future. That's what Ricky wrote about today. Ricky and I will be with you tomorrow. I'll be with you on Twitter. We'll both be with you on the DoDCast after the game, hopefully sometime before 11:30. We'll talk about the series in depth, to go through what we both feel that are worries going through for the playoffs, and to set up the week ahead. So give this video a like and subscribe. No, Harper is still injured, Seth. Give this video a like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at District On Deck. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook at District On Deck. And, of course, the website itself, districtondeck.com. We publish 2 things a day, along with all these post-game shows and live tweeting. Everything, you know the drill by now. Any last thoughts from the gang before I wrap this up? Like I said, I want to see what happens with Strasburg tomorrow. You know, if they can get a win with Strasburg on the hill, maybe string a couple of hits together, then maybe hopefully you guys will start to, out there who weren't here, will start to calm down a bit about what's going to happen in October. It's not October yet. Don't worry about things too much. Again, the bullpen is probably the best. Seth will remind me for the rest of this season, really has had an amazing series against the Dodgers. 10 2/3 innings of scoreless baseball, no hits today over 4. Ricky, did they give up a hit yesterday? I don't know if it's 10 2/3 of no-hit baseball against the Dodgers, which would be really extraordinary. But when you get Ali Perez and Matt Grace, and, well, Matt Albers has done it all year. So I'll wait another minute. Yeah, I just talked about that stuff. So that's a good sign. So, and then it's a day off on Monday, and then it's down to SunTrust Park for 3 against the Braves. Now, Blanton gave up a hit, and Romero did, I think. Okay. So, but still, it's been a very impressive weekend from the bullpen, and hopefully they can get the chance to rest and through. Steven Strasburg can give you 6 or 7 tomorrow and kind of dictate the pace. All right. Having said all that, I'm Ron Juckin. We'll both talk to you tomorrow night after the game. Until then, I'm Ron Juckin. I am myself, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll both talk to you tomorrow night. Good night. Oh, Ricky says that we'll update the DoDCast standings tomorrow night. So he's happy. I got a loss. Good night.